Alrighty, folks. Thank you for tuning in one more time to Iron Spring Outdoors. Today we got a little bit of a different video for you guys. Talking about a different shotgun than we've mentioned before on the channel. This one actually being the Remington Automatic Shotgun, or the Pre-model 11. Most popular name for it was the Model 11. Years after production started on it. Whenever Remington and UMC merged together. But I want to point out and talk about a few features found on the Pre-model 11, or at least this one here, that it's difficult to find information on this shotgun, and some things that are actually different from the regular Model 11 that people are more familiar with. So start off, not to rehash a bunch of information you probably already know. Browning licensed his Auto 5 to the Remington company in 1905. It might have been 1904, but they started production in 1905. This particular shotgun here, by the serial number date and other features of it, looks to be produced sometime in 1906. Remington produced roughly a little over 7,000 in 1905, and then they produced another a little over 16,000 in 1906, and this would have fell right in the middle of 1906. So, like most other Model 11s you're familiar with, this early model does not have the magazine cutoff. Not too surprising there. And I mentioned that because I would like to mention that this, the magazine cutoff, actually was not a Browning invention or patented product. It was actually patented by FN. Just like, I'm going to take a moment to mention this, what I would call a spur safety. Some people popularly call it suicide safety. This was a Browning design, Browning patented. And I have some paperwork I'll show you that FN actually moved this safety into the center of this forward part of the trigger guard, and that was actually an FN patented modification. And I believe that you'll find out that that is why that particular safety and the cartridge cutoff was never found on the Model 11 or the Pre-model 11. Browning couldn't license a feature to Remington because he didn't hold the patent on it. So, let's see here. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and it may be a little bit difficult to see. Let's see if I can get the camera. So, it's known that the Model 11 has some type of felt or buffer of some sort at the back of the receiver that the bolt comes into contact with. The Pre-model 11 does not. It actually has the machine work found on the Browning shotguns, so it doesn't require that buffer. It has the small button without the ribs, and overall it's probably the closest Browning patent that Remington produced. And the reason why I say that, due to the machining in the back of the receiver, the small action release button, the takedown hole is actually up here, and it has the machine cut out where it can come in and out the whole receiver. Later years, Remington did away with that, and some people say it's more difficult to take them down. The next thing too about the model pre-model 11 is actually the bolt. So we know that the bolt is different than a Browning A5. Remington only ever produced the bolt with a single extractor. Browning had the dual extractors. But this one, this bolt in the pre-model 11 resembles more of the Browning bolt. And the reason why I say that is later years, the Model 11, they went to a larger head on the pin here for the firing retainer pin. And I've seen some videos of people that would take these bolts apart. They would just hold the firing pin and push it out. This is actually, I mean, it is a pin that has to be driven out with a punch and a hammer, like the Browning Auto 5s. And also, this shotgun did not have the firing pin spring. So this one here, at some point, I'm assuming that the firing pin probably broke. This would have originally had a square head firing pin, and I've seen these adapters for sale multiple places, old gunsmith, estate sales and stuff. So either the square head firing pins were hard to find at one time, or perhaps maybe the round head pins hold up better. This one, of course, has got the adapter with the round firing pin, and I would say that this firing pin was replaced a long time ago, and you can see, I don't know if I could get it where you can see it, the machining marks where it was turned to true everything up. So it was machined. It weren't just like a stamped part, like things are nowadays. But bolt takes down just like you would a typical Auto 5. Spring, square recoil spring. Typical Auto 5 action spring with a wood plug. Stuff you kind of see typical there. Nothing too special about the Browning, about the barrel. It differs a little bit from the Browning. The barrel lug is soldered on, what I've been told, versus where Browning's kind of machined theirs in. This one here, 1906 model, there's no cracks in the barrel extension, so everything looks good there. I took this gun apart. It needed a real big time deep cleaning. The friction ring, brass friction ring, was worn. It was still doing its job, but just barely hanging on, so we're going to replace that with a new one we have already here. We're going to put a new action spring in it. We're not going to worry about fixing the receiver up. We're going to leave it alone. It's 118 years old. It's been around the block more than once, so we're going to leave it looking like it looks. Some interesting things that I wanted to talk with you guys about. I found some information online that a guy went through like production changes in the Auto 5, and we can kind of compare it to the pre-model 11, and see the Browning influence. Of course, it's a Browning patented firearm, but we can see the Remington influences, and whether they asked Browning could they change this stuff or whether they just changed it. Who's to say, and who knows? So we got here, the 1902, 1903, and the 1904 early models. On the Auto 5s, they had the takedown hold above the carrier screw. They also had a square hold hole in the receiver for the cartridge stop. And then based on these diagrams here, they had kind of a flat, almost kind of short, what I would call shorter looking trigger. And then the top view on the charge handle is a little bit different than what you see later on. And they also had a square cut where the charge handle went up into the receiver, ended in a square cut. FN changed things kind of rapidly. I'm sure they had their reasons. Here we see the 1904B and C, which would be like a mid-1904 production. We see the magazine cut off, and we see this Type 2 safety change. Trigger remains the same. Takedown remains still at the rear of the receiver. Square cartridge stop, hole in the receiver for the cartridge stop, squared off cut in the receiver for the charging handle. We see here the punch port has been changed. Late 1904, they did away with the screw on the right side of the firearm. And then here in late 1904, we see them move the takedown hole from the rear of the shotgun above the carrier screw toward the front of the shotgun. Now my next diagram, we're looking at a 1906 production Auto 5. And we see here the charging handle shape has changed. And we also see that the cartridge stop protrusion from the receiver has also changed, cut square at the top and cut rounded at the bottom. Trigger's still flat. Not much has changed there that we're wanting to look at. And then in 1909, 12 gauge, the Type 3 safety was added. We're looking at the carrier latch with the circle ribs in it, and then they added the locking screws. And we can see here it still retained the flat trigger, but where FN actually patented the Type 3 safety in 1909. And then in 1904, where they patented the cartridge cutoff. So, and the reason why I went over that and wanted to mention that and talking about this shotgun is because we see some changes here. Now, if you remember, the 1903, 1904, let's look again. Yep, 1904, 1906. It wasn't until 1909 when FN went to the rounded slot for the charging handle. But we see here, early model Remington 11, we have a rounded slot already. Next thing I would like to mention is here we see in the Remington Pre-model 11, it was late 1904 whenever FN moved the takedown port from above the carrier screws to up here more towards the front. And then in 1909, they actually went to the smaller hole. And the next thing too, now whether it's just a diagram, this trigger here to me looks more rounded than in the diagrams that I've been looking at of the Browning. I don't have an early Browning to really take apart and compare one to the other against. And then last thing I would like to point out is we see here in the 1906 pre-model 11, the cartridge stop squared off at the top, this hole in the receiver, and rounded at the bottom. This is interesting to me, these changes, because they're implemented by Remington sooner than they're implemented by FN. Some things lead me to believe perhaps this takedown pin hole being moved from above the carrier screw to up here towards the front. Maybe that was a Browning patented or modification, and that's why, you know, he was able to license it to Remington. Maybe this rounded port, maybe Browning come up with that, or perhaps Remington come up with that. We do know that Remington made some changes. You know, this front trigger housing pin in the Auto 5 is threaded. And then later in 1909, when FN went to lock screws on everything, of course they added a lock screw. But then the pre-model 11, we just have a regular pin that is not threaded, and we have this lock screw that keeps the pin into the receiver. So all in all, this is a pretty interesting piece to me, that whether you care for the safety or not, I mean, this is probably more advanced than the Browning Auto 5 was of this same time. And I don't know how much influence Browning himself had on it. I have read that from 1905 or 6, I believe it was, until the early 1920s, Browning didn't even produce any shotguns for the U.S. market. I don't know how truthful that is, but if that was the case, then Browning may have had more influence with this shotgun, seeing as how it was a shotgun of his patent and the only one being produced in the U.S. and available to the U.S. market at that time. So, furniture is in pretty good shape on this one. We can see it has seen repairs. It's 118 years old. It is a working shotgun. It has been used. It still retains the alignment pins in the forearm. In this particular one, they are wood. We have a crack here that's been repaired in the past. And I've got one more crack right there that just started that I'll fix this time before we put it back together. Stock, the stock, like the forearm, pretty good shape. It's been used, it's been dropped, it's got scratches. It's not really broke anyway, just that little chip there, nothing really to worry about. Rounded knob on the pistol grip. So, and then this one actually has a crack. It may be difficult to see. Yep, it actually has a crack starting about right here, and it's hard to see, and it runs to about right here. Real thin crack. So we're gonna pull that apart and put some glue in there. I think that happened. There is a gap when the stock is on this shotgun between the stock and the rear of the receiver. So we're probably going to actually do like a glass bedding kit with the brown dye and make it look good to get these recoil lugs on the stock and the recoil end of the receiver trued up, and where the stock can do its job like it's supposed to. But if you guys have any more questions, please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll try to answer them the best I can, but I wanted to do a video showing that the Pre-model 11 took a little bit of extra steps, a little bit of extra machining work that later on Remington decided that they would skip out on, and we have enough space that we don't require the buffer at the back, and we don't have a firing pin spring like we go to later. We're more like the Browning. No firing pin spring, square head firing pin, or the round head with the adapter. And then some features and stuff. The groove cut for the takedown pin. The machining work so far as the bottom rounded off on the cartridge stop. The takedown pin being moved up. That just seems like some features that wouldn't be found until later Browning Auto 5s. And if you can hear it, it rings. But you'll see this shotgun later. Overall, it's in pretty good shape. We're going to put it back together. We don't see any no broken lugs on the bolt lock. Bolt looks to be in good shape. Lugs look good. We don't see any cracks. We've cleaned it up. We've taken a look. It's been used, but overall it looks to be in pretty good shape. I'm not sure if this bolt was replaced at some point. It is a little bit odd to me. It carries a number 440 on the top and the back of it, which 440 is not the serial number of the shotgun. So I don't know if maybe the Pre-model 11s, the bolts carried their own serial number, and to keep the bolts and the locking block together as a match set, or if this might have been a replacement bolt at some point. I'm sure 118 years old, this gun's been to the gunsmith a few times. But I'll let you guys go. If you got any other questions, just comment. I'll try to answer what I can. And if you like this video, just give it a like. Thanks now.